Thank you for joining me today. We are going to have a quick look at what's called Azure AD Conditional Access. So if I search for it here in Azure Portal, Conditional Access, I get navigate to this page, and here you see I have this policies option. Of course, for that I have to have a special license. It's either Azure AD Premium or E5, depending on your Office 365 subscription. But the main idea behind these policies, basically it allows you to create some sophisticated conditions and allow or block specific platforms, specific devices, or things like that based on conditions. So for example, you can block some legacy devices. You can allow only corporate devices without using bring your own things. You can enforce multi-factor authentication for a specific Active Directory group. So for a specific group of people. So things like that. In free, so in Office 365, in any subscription, you can enforce MFA, multi-factor authentication for all users. But with premium license, you can control it, right? So let's say you want to have a group which should not be where MFA should not be used for some critical workloads or things like that. But let's have a look. So if I look here under conditional access, right, I see some options like named locations, custom controls, VPN, etc. If I create a new policy, there is also a new option which is called new policy from template. So let's have a look here, just at the new policy. Right here, I would give it a name. And then I decide who should get this policy. So it could be all users or just selected users or group who should be included or excluded from this policy, right? Or this one is in preview, so we're not going to touch it right now, but let's do it later. Cloud apps or actions. So first I select the users to who I apply this policy and who are either included or excluded. Then I select apps, right? Depending on my requirements, I could, let's say, select specific apps like, for example, Office 365 or maybe Dynamics Business Central. Maybe I want to exclude an app like Microsoft Flow, right? As an example, let's say for some reason I want it to be excluded. Then I go here to exclude and then select this app and save it. So I'm not going to save it. Then if I look below, a little bit below, I see here we have conditions, right? So different conditions for the policies. So for the conditions, we see that there is a risk level, specific device platforms, locations, etc. And then I see the controls. So basically, the control here is grant control, right? So I can grant access to a specific application for a specific user group and require MFA or require a device to be compliant. So things like that. So these are different controls. And then the policy, when I enable it, of course, at the first step, I should do report only, because if I turn it on and if it's not configured correctly, I might lock myself out from this policy. For example, if I configure for all users, block or require hybrid Azure AD joint device, and I do not have that device, then I would lock myself out. So this is quite a powerful feature I see here, and you see I can turn it on off or report only. As a best practice, you would always keep it as a report only after configuration to see, to analyze the logs to make sure what the policy works correctly, and apply it only on a specific dedicated security group. So not everyone should be included in this policy. You see, when I go on top here, I see this users or workload identities. I should not select all users, just either use selected users or exclude a specific group from this policy. And yeah, so that's basically where it's our starting point. And let's look how we can start designing. So how we can go about designing specific policies for the company. First, of course, we can define the policies which are needed. Let's say in our very, very simple case, we have only 3 policies in the company. It allows Windows devices, right? And it blocks Mac or it allows Macs also, and it block unsupported platforms, right? Then I would fill this table with specific groups to whom it should be applied, and also users, let's say global admin should be excluded from this policy. So I can put here, for example, global admin. And this way, when I configure it, this group, global admin group, will be excluded from uh, allow Windows devices, meaning that a global admin can bring also other devices except these ones. Also, if you have a location configured, like safe location or trusted location, then you can also configure your policy in such a way that when a user signs in from a specific location, then the policy basically allows him to sign in, and if it's from another country or not trusted location, it would require MFA or something like this. Then you can select devices, right? And also for clients, you can, when you configure the policy, you can select different clients, for example, web browser, modern authentication, or legacy client. In our case, it would be for legacy client, we would block it, right? So maybe in my table it doesn't look so good. I move it here. So Control X to remove and paste it here, and action would be block, something like this, right? Or require MFA for web browser. I can let's say how do I do it? Maybe here. For web browser, I would require MFA true, right? Or require compliant device. So the most important thing to remember is the policies. You have to think about the policies which your company requires. So this has to be defined in specific workshops. Then you decide who is included in this policy, who is excluded, what type of cloud apps are applicable to this policy, what about the locations, the devices, the clients, and controls. So in general, that's it, right? If you create a similar table, of course, it can be more detailed and populated with things, with these entries. Then it becomes easier for you to configure it from here, from the portal. You just select like specific users and groups, and let's say all guest and external users should be blocked from Office 365 apps. Then you go here, select apps. Let's say we select Office 365. So I have this app, and then access control, I do the block access. So in this case, it will block. Of course, if it's read only, then it should be okay. But if I set it to on, then all guest users would not be able to access this portal. So that's basically very brief overview of conditional policies, how it works, and now you get an idea how to start designing it and configuring it within your tenant. So thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Stay healthy. Bye bye.